Today we joined countries around the globe in celebration of World Oceans Day under the theme Healthy Oceans, Healthy Planet. Our oceans regulate the weather. They provide us with oxygen, food, medicine, well-needed recreation, and so much more. That's why it's important that we take greater care of our waters by not over-exploiting their resources or polluting them. Hello and welcome to another edition of Jamaica Magazine. So glad you could join us. I'm Adrian Atkinson, your host for the next half hour. June is Disaster Preparedness and Road Safety Month, so we'll bring you some well-needed information and updates on work being done over the next few weeks.
Hurricanes can strike at any time. In the event of one, be prepared to act quickly. If a hurricane watch or warning has been issued, review your home disaster response plan. Map out likely routes to evacuate if your home is at risk and confirm with relatives or friends you plan to stay with. Also, confirm the location of the nearest shelter. Check your emergency supplies and restock if necessary. Remember, disasters do happen, so be prepared.
Good day, I'm Tamara McHale and this is your GIS News for Monday, June 8. Government is expecting the construction of a new concrete access road to the Riverton disposal site to expand commercial activities at the facility.
This is central to the NSWMA's strategic business plan and operational plan. We expect that this project will produce significant economic and social outcomes, which will include stimulation of employment for persons in the project period and beyond. I'd like to say also that this will facilitate the utilization of the landfill day and night. Currently no activity can take place there at nights because of the state of the road.
$1.8 million will be spent to repair approximately 2 kilometers of roadway. Funding is being provided by the Mexican government through the Infrastructure Fund for Mesa America and the Caribbean. The United Nations Office of Professional Services will provide project management supervision services. The project is expected to begin this month and last for 1 year. The Agriculture Ministry has partnered with a private export company to build an off-site fumigation facility in Manchester, which will serve to enhance our export capacity. Portfolio Minister Derek Kelly recently announced that the facility will be opened at the Jam Island Processing Company, a large exporter of yams, dasheen and pumpkins. The new fumigation facility is over 12,000 square feet and can accommodate up to 3 40-foot containers.
The construction of this off-site fumigation facility means that one, there will be less handling of the produce, as the produce will be processed, packed and fumigated at the same location, thus ensuring better quality of produce for shipping. This new facility also therefore means reduced costs for transportation and more production time for workers, as they will not be traveling to Kingston to offload and reload the containers.
Minister Kelly was speaking at last Thursday's launch of the 63rd staging of the Denby Agricultural, Industrial and Food Show. It will be held from July 31 to August 2, under the theme, Grow What We Eat What We Grow, making agriculture sustainable. With the hope of more local companies expanding to international markets, the government recently conducted a franchising seminar. The seminar was hosted by Jamaica Promotions Corporations in collaboration with the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce and the United States Embassy. It was held under the theme, Promoting Opportunities in Franchising. JAMPRO's President Diane Edwards urged local entrepreneurs at the event to explore the approximately $350 billion franchising market.
How many of you really know how to go about acquiring such a franchise? And what do you really know about the business behind franchising? That's the reason why we're here today. How can we also help our own Jamaican companies to build their brands to a level where the brand and the concept are strong enough to be franchised globally.
The seminar targeted operators of small and medium enterprises spanning several areas of business, such as fast food services, education, and technology. 14 beaches across the island will be developed as part of a national beach development program. The $250 million program will be financed by the Tourism Enhancement Fund. It includes equipping public beaches with necessary amenities and recreational facilities for the enjoyment of locals and visitors to the island.
So we decided to do a beach in every parish, for starters, because we're going to do better than that.
Some of the beaches identified for development are Burwood in Trelawney, Montego Bay's Providence Park, and Norman Manley Beach Park in Negril. Treasure Beach in St. Elizabeth, Old Harbour Bay in St. Catherine, Salem in St. Anne, and Boston in Portland will also be improved. And finally, Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller left the island Sunday to lead Jamaica's delegation to the second European Union CELAC summit in Brussels, Belgium. The discussions will be held on June 10 and 11, focusing on the future of cooperation between the EU and the countries of CELAC, the community of Latin American and Caribbean states. The theme is Shaping Our Common Future, Working for Prosperous, Cohesive and Sustainable Societies for Our Citizens. An estimated 61 heads of government will also discuss matters related to international security. The dialogue with representatives of the EU in Brussels is of particular importance to Jamaica, among other things, because the EU is the main source of grant funding to the island and the main provider of development aid worldwide. Jamaica's National Trade and Investment Agency, JAMPRA, will be represented at the Business Summit, and the University of the West Indies will participate in the Academic Summit. Minister of Water, Land, Environment and Climate Change Robert Pickersgill is in charge of the government until the Prime Minister's return on June 13. And that's it for JIS News today. I'm Tamara McHale. Thank you for watching.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
Your weekly update of events in the office of the Prime Minister comes your way right now.
In Jamaica House Weekly, Prime Minister launches Road Safety Month with plans to assess work being done in this area. National Disaster Committee meets to strategize and put disaster response mechanisms in place. And government reaffirms commitment to public sector efficiency. Chairman of the National Road Safety Council, Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller, says work is underway to assess the state of road safety on the island. She made the disclosure at Wednesday's launch of the Jamaica Gasoline Retailers Association's National Road Safety Month.
We will take some time to review the statistics. We will look to see how best we can increase the messaging and interventions to improve safety on the roads for all road users.
Mrs. Simpson Miller also urged safer road practices with a special appeal for motor and pedal cyclists to wear helmets.
One head injury can create a serious challenge for an entire family. Too many pedestrians are crossing the road when it is unsafe to do so. Too many motorists continue to break the speed limit and to run the red light.
Between January 1 and June 3 this year, 150 Jamaicans lost their lives due to road crashes. Wednesday afternoon saw Mrs. Simpson Miller chairing a meeting of the National Disaster Committee.
Since we cannot predict, we better be prepared. And it is in this spirit that I call the meeting, so that all of us can get together and begin to discuss and to put the necessary plans in place just in case.
Mrs. Simpson-Miller received status reports and plans for 2015-2016 from major ministries, agencies and departments of government regarding disaster preparation measures being undertaken. Last Tuesday, Prime Minister Simpson-Miller addressed the opening ceremony of a World Bank-sponsored conference on strengthening oversight for fostering accountability, transparency and sustainability in the public sector. She told the gathering that the government was working feverishly to enhance efficiency, quality and cost-effectiveness in the public sector. She said part of that thrust was to increase the effectiveness of the offices of the Auditor and Contractor General.
They're also bolstering the capacity within the Auditor General's office for more in-depth and frequent reviews of these statements. The Office of the Auditor General is to be strengthened, and the Office of the Contractor General is being given attention in terms of accepting and responding to its resource needs and mandate.
The June 2 to 4 conference was held at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. It brought together parliamentarians, experts on legislative oversight issues, supreme audit institutions, and professional accountancy bodies from Jamaica and overseas. On June 1, the Prime Minister welcomed the addition of the remodeled Sandals Ochi Beach Resort to the island's tourism offering. Mrs. Simpson-Miller also chaired a meeting of the National Road Safety Council. And that's how we close today's Jamaica House Weekly. Join us next time for more of the stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
Measles, mumps and rubella are potentially dangerous childhood diseases. Parents, ensure your children get the MMR vaccine to protect them. The first shot should be given when children are between 12 and 15 months old, and another before they start school. Women of childbearing age should also ensure they get the MMR vaccine, as they could transmit dangerous conditions to their children if infected while pregnant. To know more, visit your nearest clinic or health center or contact the Ministry of Health.
Since we can't predict when a natural disaster will strike, preparation is the key to our survival. Last week we looked at hurricane preparation. This week we highlight fire prevention.
In the case of a fire at your home, should you A. stop to get your pet, B. evacuate immediately and call the fire brigade from a neighbor's phone, or C. stop to call the fire brigade? The answer is B. Evacuate immediately and call the fire brigade from a neighbor's phone. Many students know the answer to the question simply because a fire prevention officer went to their school and gave them the drill.
When your clothes is on fire, you do not run. So you stop where you are, you fall to the ground, and you roll.
Public education is a key component in fire prevention. It is a proactive method of reducing emergencies and the damage caused by them by ensuring that the public is fully aware of what to do in case of an emergency.
We recognize that fires start most of the time because people don't know about fires. People don't know what it takes to make a fire. People don't know what it takes to get rid of a fire. Without educating a person about the dangers of fire, then they would be totally lost, and we will continue to have devastating fires destroying life and property.
Look around for me. Make sure that everybody in the class is here.
I think you should give yourselves a clap. That's how we want you to operate when there is a fire, all right?
Fire prevention officers go into communities, businesses, schools, churches, wherever they are granted access, and educate the public on fire safety practices. And through programs like Safety Monitor and Training, persons are taught to educate others about appropriate fire safety behavior.
We go into communities, we train what we call community safety wardens or fire wardens. So they would now look at the mispractices. We go into businesses, organize the staff, and we train persons to train the people in the workplace. They are also trained to a point where they can check for hazards. to ensure that all the fire hazards that are visible can be reduced.
If it is that you require of us or you ask of us to come into your home and show you what inside there can actually start a fire and how you can prevent that fire, we actually do that. And we promote as well what we call a good neighbor policy. So you ensure that your neighbor is not doing anything that will put your life in jeopardy from a fire, and you do the same as well for your neighbors.
What happens?
Fire prevention does not stop at public education. There is also engineering and enforcement. You could call it the triple E effect. Engineering and enforcement go hand in hand. It's at this stage that the Fire Prevention Division review building plans, inspect buildings, and assess for compliance.
We encourage you to come into us, submit your building plan. We are able to look at it to see how you are going to occupy the building, and then we would be able to recommend the type of devices that you would use to better protect your property and the lives that will occupy that building.
Fire prevention officers should be contacted to conduct fire safety inspection as soon as new buildings are erected or existing buildings are being renovated. There is no cost attached.
So you would write us a letter, and you can send it in to us by email. When we get that letter, we set a date with you. We come into your building and we look at everywhere, all of the occupied space, whether doors are locked off, technical room. We start from the roof all the way down to basement level if there's a basement, and we note everything in terms of what you have in the building, what you need to do, and then we would go back, make recommendations. So once you implement those recommendations, then you know that you are on the right track to have a safe building, a fire-safe building to occupy.
Once the inspection is complete and your building meets the required standard, you will receive a building occupancy certificate, also known as a fire certificate. The Fire Prevention Division also sees to the retrofitting of fire hydrants.
In 2007, we did a survey. That survey was a bit dismal, to be honest. It showed that we had just about 30% of all fire hydrants across the island working. We hired 2 teams of hydrant maintenance persons, and we placed one in the western section of the island and one in Kingston. In 2012, 5 years after, we did another survey, and that survey is showing us that we now have over 70% of the fire hydrants working. So that is really saying to us that the team that we have employed is actually going out there and doing the job that is required of them.
The fire brigade is on the job to ensure that you are safe in the event of a fire, but they can't go it alone. Your help is needed.
Don't cook and leave it unattended. Don't overload circuits. Don't introduce a whole lot of electrical equipment on systems that are not designed for that heavy load. Don't allow children that are not of the age of 12 and untaught to be fooling around with fire in general, and pretty much ensure that you have a plan in your home, in the building that you occupy. Ensure that the right equipment is there. Our message to the public is prevent, prevent, prevent.
Once a fire starts, you need to call us. It is better for us to get on the scene and realize that you have already dealt with it than for us to get on the scene late. Because nobody likes a situation like that when we get there late and there's nothing much that we can actually do.
For more information on the Jamaica Fire Brigade, visit their website www.jfb.gov.jm or call 922-2523 or 922-0007.
When you're on the road, take your time. When you're on the road, bear this in mind. When you're on the road, you could save a life when you're on the road.
Defensive driving, obeying speed limits and adhering to the rules of the road are important to our safe passage as we traverse the nation's thoroughfares. Our vehicles also provide extra protection. See how next.
Active safety refers to systems that helps to avoid an accident, while passive safety refers to features that minimize the injury to occupants of a motor vehicle when it is involved in a crash. These active safety systems are the steering and the braking of the motor vehicle that are operated by the driver, while the passive safety features are like the airbag and seatbelt that is activated by the vehicle itself when it is involved in a crash.
And speaking of a crash, it is important to buckle up at all times, because not only does a seatbelt save lives, but it helps to prevent lifetime and long-term injuries. Under the Road Traffic Act, you can be fined $500 and 2 points if you are caught driving without wearing a seatbelt. The same fine applies if your vehicle is not fitted with seatbelts. And then there's a penalty of $800 for not ensuring the safety of your passengers.
Persons must remember that the seatbelts are installed in the vehicle as a safety device to minimize the injury that you might receive in the event of a collision. So persons who are wearing the seatbelt in this fashion, right, this is not the correct way. The seatbelt must be worn right across your shoulder. If the seatbelt is too high based on your height, then it can be adjusted to fit right across your shoulder. And if you are a tall person, it can also be adjusted so that it fits you as best as possible for your own safety.
Children are precious and their safety must be taken into consideration when traveling in a motor vehicle. So if they are too small, a child or booster seat must be used. This is recommended for children under the age of 7.
You should also make sure that it is firmly fitted in the vehicle, allowing for minimal forward or sideways movement. Let us use these safety devices to help protect our children from death and serious injuries in road crashes. The headrest is sometimes mistaken for a luxury feature, but it is actually another valuable safety feature on your vehicle. The headrest or head restraint is actually to minimize or prevent a whiplash injury during a collision. It should be adjusted to the height of the driver and passenger's head, and there should be at least 2 inches between your head and the headrest.
This is the highest this particular headrest can be extended. So this will be okay. So in the event of a crash and the vehicle is stopped suddenly, on impact, the seatbelt will restrict your forward movement and the headrest will restrict the backward movement to avoid any whiplash injury. During a collision, the airbag acts as a cushion that minimizes or prevents injury.
What the airbag does is to reduce the speed of the forward movement of the occupant. The airbag is designed to inflate rapidly in moderate to severe crashes and provide protection to the occupants' bodies when they strike interior objects such as the steering wheel or a window. However, for proper protection, persons should be correctly restrained with a seat belt.
During a collision, on impact with an object at a speed as low as between 16 and 24 kilometers per hour, the airbag inflation system acts on 2 gases, sodium azide and potassium nitrate, which produces a nitrogen gas that inflates the airbag and suddenly deflates the airbag within a second on contact with the occupant.
Most vehicles carry 2 airbags to the front, one in the steering wheel and the other on the dashboard on the passenger side. But in high-end vehicles, you will find up to 8 airbags at various locations to the front, rear, and even to the sides. Airbags were designed for one use only, and therefore once it has been deployed, you must have new ones installed. Reusing airbags is a dangerous practice.
You've often heard it said that children should travel in the back of the vehicle, and here's one of the reasons. It is because they are too small to handle the impact of the airbag, so take these tips into consideration.
You should never put a rear-facing child seat in the front seat of a car with an airbag. But make sure all children are buckled up no matter where they sit. Unbuckled children can be hurt or killed by an airbag. Do you know where the crumple zones are located on a vehicle and what's their purpose?
The crumple zone on a vehicle are located to the rear and the front. In a crash, these two areas are so designed to crumple so that it minimizes the effect of the crash on the occupants and sort of preserve the cabin area that the occupants are located in.
These areas are designed to deform, hence the word crumple, upon impact, so that the force from the crash is transferred into the bodywork of the vehicle and not to the body of the occupant. The crumple zones are also designed so that damage to the cabin area of the vehicle is limited during a crash. These areas also help to slow down the crash so that the occupant's motion is contained and they are not thrown around.
This is a vehicle with a frontal damage. And if you notice the front area here, this is actually the crumple zone, which is located to the front. And the effect of this collision actually caused the entire front to crumple inward. And as you can see in the center here, this is typical of a pole impact. And this impact, this crumple, will be the same that would be seen at the rear of the vehicle if this vehicle was involved in a rear impact collision. These areas are so designed that they actually sacrifice themselves during a collision to actually secure the cabin area of the vehicle where the occupants are located. This area will for most part remain intact to minimize the effect of the collision and lessen the injury to the occupants themselves.
The next time you buy, drive, or travel in a motor vehicle, remember, they offer more than just flashy features for your mobility and enjoyment. They are also built with protective safety devices, so take time to know them.
Buckle up when you drive. Protect your children with child and booster seats and strap them down well. Adjust your headrest and never reuse an airbag. This has been Road Scholars. Until next time, take care.
And that's our show. Your feedback is important to us, so please continue to send your comments and queries to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm. You may also join us on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or by downloading our new mobile app from the Google Play Store. Our website, jis.gov.jm, is a one-stop shop for all you need to know about government policies and programs which serve to improve your daily lives. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.